Yep, I want to see what it does here. So we're recording. Haven't hit anything here. We have our transition. There we go. We got two cameras, 16 seconds. Um, I mean, everything seems to be running well now. This is what our third time trying to get this to kind of go here. Um, cool. Well, all right. But yeah, we are here in Idaho. Last time you guys talked to us, we were talking about coming to our deer hunting unit, and we made it. So we're just going to kind of discuss our journey from our last campsite when we talked to you guys at Rapid City to the spots that we stayed since then, and what's kind of been going on here at deer camp in Idaho. So let's get right into it. Joe, from Rapid City, after we made that beautiful pot of spaghetti, which has been a mainstay here at camp, do you remember kind of where we left off and just kind of give a preview of at least from that Rapid City to where we are now?
How's it going?
We have not seen him, no.
No. Is he looking for an iPhone?
Yeah.
I talked to him in his truck, but I haven't seen him walking around. Oh my god.
No.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Good luck. I hope you guys find it. Yep. Take care. Um, on our
Is it still
earlier
rolling?
what?
Is it still going?
Yeah, it's still recording. So
Hey.
earlier when we were recording, because like I said, we're on our third or fourth time here. Um, somebody pulled up and Joe thought they said, "Do you guys have a pound of salt?"
And I was like, yes, we do have a pound of salt, brother. I got you. And then I pulled out the salt and I walked up to his truck. He said, "What is it?" He's no, I said iPhone. Do you have an iPhone? I was like, oh, my bad, dude.
Yeah,
No, I
like
didn't- I didn't
got
see
this
that.
man's hopes up that like
Yeah, I
he
like
found
got
his
up out of my
phone.
chair. I was like moving with a purpose. Like found the salt. I was like walking out to him so confident. Got you, baby. Here you go. He said, "What?" I was like, "Oh fuck, my bad."
But yeah, that's camp. I mean, pretty much. There's most of the people that we've even met out here have been pretty friendly. We actually got kind of our hunting plan from somebody here from the Idaho area. Shout out Dan and Kayla. They gave
Yep,
us some
appreciate
good.
you.
Yep, they gave us some good information. Just that at least led us in the right direction. If you follow us on Instagram, you have seen that Joe did take out a deer opening day. We'll get into that story a little bit later, and he'll pull his. Do you want to get the head real quick?
Yeah,
Just
I'll
show.
go
Yeah,
grab
just
it.
show it real quick. So, opening day, we towards and it was kind of a weird time too. It was like even like in the, like right at the afternoon, Joe ended up walking up on this bad boy, and there he is. Pretty tall, 3x2. Everybody that we've talked to so far here said though that's a great deer. It's the biggest deer that I've seen yet. Like he's a beast. But it was pretty awesome. So we're gonna get into that and let you guys in on that story without trying to blow this unit up too much. I mean everything that we talk about on here is all Googleable. Like we found any of the information that we honestly found out here. A lot of the people were also just like saying the same stuff that we read online. So we had a good idea of what we were going to do. But I kind of wanted to start off back in Rapid City after our podcast. That week we decided to leave, and that guy. Do you remember that dude showing up in his like pile of shit truck and was
Yeah.
like talking about it, like having his like
Yeah,
the
his
mountain
dogs
lions
were
and
out.
stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and his dogs were out kicking it.
But yeah, just can you outline because I have a terrible memory and you're pretty good at remembering this shit. Just take us from Rapid City to where we are now.
Yeah, I think it was how many days was it? 2 or 3?
I think 3 days.
Yeah, so it's a 3-day kind of. Some weeks you just got to drive, and that's what sucks about living in a van. It's like some weeks it's just drive weeks, and that was that, or drive weekends, because we worked throughout the week. So we went from Rapid City, South Dakota, heading west, always west, through Thunder Grassland, Thunder Basin National Grassland. Kept going west towards Casper. Stayed in a beautiful spot just south of Casper.
Mm-hmm.
Woke up that next morning. Kept heading west towards the Granite Mountains.
Also, like when we were driving through that, Joe was just like, yeah, I got to come back to this area. Just because the mountains, they weren't like huge, but they were all rock.
Very
and
unique.
like just
Yeah.
like they looked like a great, like just a spot to climb,
Yeah.
honestly.
Seemed like a super cool spot. And we even stopped at a gas station, and two cats who I think were rafting out there on some river. We're like, oh, you guys climbing out there in the mountains? We're like, oh no, we're heading to hunt, but you know.
Yeah, we
Put
did.
that away.
Yeah, he basically thought we looked like climbers, which I thought was hilarious, and they were just fishermen. But no, we're headed out to Idaho, and it was kind of cool on the way out here, telling people too, that, like I actually had to have some tags in Idaho to go out and hunt.
Right. And we were like, whoa, that's cool. Yeah, it's an interesting kind of trip for sure.
Well, and you wanted to always incorporate more than just van life and hiking and like all the normal stuff into what you do on the road, and I think at least this trip it's been a pretty good mix of van life hunting. But like the hunting part it does add a new like a twist into your plans.
Very
much.
challenging. Yeah, very challenging, especially when to be frank, I'm not that seasoned of a hunter. You're more seasoned than I, but this is definitely new to both of us.
Right. Like this hike, like this thing hiking up this is not a joke. And that's pretty much what Joe and I decided to do.
Right.
When we went opening day.
Well, like
and
even packing gear, man, is different. You know what I mean? Because it's like you have to think about things. Because like this is like, who cares what knife you bring out into a cornfield, but up there, I mean, really the smaller, sharper you can get a blade, the better, right? So it's just like the lighter, smaller, sharper you can get something, And I think if you just kind of apply that same thinking to everything when we're hunting, like hey, a smaller shelter, tighter on the food, tighter on just every kind of component when you're out there, and then maximize, water.
and we never, the thing is though, we never did like that that overnight that prepared us and like told us what we wanted to do more of. We kind of just sent it and like instead of having a practice round, just said fuck it, we're gonna go out and do it. Right. So I think if we even had a practice day or a practice 2 days, like before we came here, we probably have been even a little more locked in on what we needed to take.
Like next time, definitely both getting like water bladders from Walmart.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just makes sense to be able to have that 4 liters just very compact and easy to get to instead of just having 2 bottles. The 2 bottles like feels great on your back, but the reality is you're gonna need more water when you're out there. Even like your hands get bloody, man. You're gonna want to clean them off, especially if you're gonna sleep out there with bears. Mm-hmm. That or like either clean your hands off or you have your hands on your Glock the whole night, right? It's like just different. It's just a different kind of vibe.
And it's not, and like we kept saying too, it is not whitetail hunting. I mean, you got to be. I think next time when at least I come out here, I definitely just want to be in better shape. And like you don't really know what you're walking into until you really get to the area. But realistically, the terrain kicked my ass. I was expecting it to be hard and be kind of similar to something like the Eland National Forest or even what was the other one, Corona National Forest. Like we thought, cause some of those places I was like, yeah, I could definitely do that. Like definitely could do that. And then I get here, different type of terrain. These are legit mountains. I mean, they're not huge, but it's just the up and down, and then what you're walking, like what you're walking on and what you're walking into.
Even we did a couple hikes there at Rapid City, way easier than that.
Way easier. Yeah. Like wasn't even like
we're climbing hills. Like we're trying to go to the top of I'm always gonna find a point and be like, hey, we should go to the top of that because like I'm a masochist in that way. Way easier.
And we did that no problem. Like we did it there was no problem getting up those mountains because like there was a stopping point. And these mountains you're going down and then like you said earlier, there's like how many false summits? How many times where you're like, yeah, we're almost to the top and we can just ride this ridge line, and that is not the case. That's not what happened.
Right. And this is class 3 stuff. If you guys don't, go look up the hiking scales. Class 1 is a track at your high school, up to class 5 being proper rock climbing, right? And that's where you get the 5.11, right? Which is like a brand people probably know. This stuff is proper class 3, borderline class 4 in areas, you know what I mean? It's a real scramble, and we're doing it with a 10-pound rifle and 50 pounds on our back, 50 plus maybe.
And like our packs weren't like my pack wasn't locked in either. You know what I mean? I didn't like you
That's what I'm
said.
saying.
We brought too much food.
We'll just be a little bit tighter, a little bit lighter, a little bit sharper next time we come out, and I think we can really crank out miles. And it's just you need some way to get around the hills besides just your legs. Your legs, I think, can do it for you. It got them done for me,
right.
But that was hell. I mean, it took me 2 days to get off the mountain, and
we lost, and quite frankly, we lost a lot of meat too,
right?
Because of the temperature
it's
and where it was
normally
at.
warm. It's 75 degrees, which it's not supposed to be this time of year, but it's also just took me a long time. I mean, the closest we could get to the spot I killed the easiest route to get to the spot where I killed the deer, 8 almost 9 mile walk, up and down hills. Like this is. What 1,500 feet elevation gain still? That's not an easy hike for anybody.
No.
Well,
and that's just to get to the glassing spot.
Just
that's
to get to the
even,
part
like,
where I shot the deer.
And like where you shot that deer too, like instead of going straight up from camp, like you said, it was going to be we did it again. It was an 8-mile hike on trail and maybe 0.3 off. And there's probably 3 decent glassing spots. But I would say if we did that legit, like you would want to drive your ATV as far as you can on that trail. Park your ATV and then walk 3 miles out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You get something huge.
Right. That
you could get a monster, I think, if you did that. Like we got a pretty good looking buck hiking 3 miles.
And we did. The thing is, though, you basically did do that. We did the 8-mile hike at 0.3 off, and like that is where you found your big deer. And like that's legit. Like you're gonna have to do some hiking and get off trail if you want to see deer. I mean, there's guys that were riding dirt bikes and shit that we met here. And they're older gentlemen. He got a 4x4. You know what I mean?
Good looking deer.
Yeah, it was a nice. He had a dark chocolate rack too. I mean, he wasn't as big. Oh, sorry. He wasn't as big as Joe's, but the rack was pretty. It was a 4x4, but I would take Joe's over that deer he killed. And those guys are riding on their dirt bikes all day, and then maybe hiking 3 miles out, 3 miles back.
And they've definitely been here a long time. Like
right.
They know what they're looking for. We just don't know.
We do. I mean, we know, like, we find game trails. We walk on game trails. We find rubs. We find scrapes. Like, there's stuff that you can do like that. But, like, legitimately being able to, we don't know how to glass. Like, I don't necessarily know how to glass. And, like, what I'm looking, like, yeah, you just look up at the mountain. But a lot of the spots that you're supposed to look up at, even they told us, like, northeast faces, all bullshit. He's like, we killed us off a south-facing slope.
Yeah, they said especially when it's this warm out. When it's just so hot. It's just abnormally hot. And so you get to kind of throw the rules out, sit by water.
Mm-hmm. And that was something a lot of it people told us, too, is just, like, get closer to their resources because they're not going to want to move as much. But at the end of the day, you still have to go out and get them. If it snowed, and like he said, these deer here, they're a bunch of sissies. If it gets cold and it snows, it pushes them way down because they're just they're not used to the weather like that.
They don't want that cold ass shit.
So he gave us some tips too, and that was after, and we saw him at the bar later too.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Pine Cafe. Saw him on the trail, and then saw him at the bar later,
which is kind of a cool little like story. So we ended up talking to them for a little bit, and that's how we found out that they killed one later that day, which was pretty cool because like. I don't know. It's always nice to know other people are having success and seeing deer because a lot of people we talk to just seeing a bunch of does. That's what everyone saw pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the deer we saw hanging up here at the new camp at Elk Flats, like
but it's small.
Yeah, he was tiny compared to yours.
Right.
Yours is probably 200. I would say 250-pound deer. Your deer was huge.
He's a big boy.
So I mean, yeah. So let's just start talking about kind of what we did and because like. We already kind of skipped where we were headed. Obviously, it was a long-ass drive. We drove up some pretty big, steep hills. I was going about 30 on some of these spots.
He said 18. He said 18.
It was 18, I think.
Yeah.
Going up, I think it was 70-mile-an-hour hills. So it was just it's just not a lot of fun doing that shit. But, like, Joe and I decided that I get to pick the route the one day. He picks the next day. And I decided to go all interstate, and he decided to do the opposite. So, and it was about the same level of drive. Like, it was the same amount of time. It didn't really matter. One's going 55, one's going 70. But like I said, my car's never going the speed limit pretty much anywhere.
Right.
So we decided to take a more scenic route, and we got here at night and didn't even see how beautiful it was.
Right.
And I woke up at camp the next day and was like, this is where I want to stay. Like, I did not want to move. And you were trying to move up to what, Featherville, I think?
Yeah, just north of Featherville.
Yeah, so we were just like debating on that, and then we talked to some people here who are like Idaho locals. I think they might be from Mountain Home, but shout out Dan and Kayla. They we stopped and talked to them the first day. Was it? Yeah, first day we woke up.
Yeah.
And we were just like, "You seen anything?" They got back from glassing, and it turned out he was elk hunting. So we weren't in competition, and he just decided to give us some tips, and it kind of allowed us to stay at the original camp that we wanted to, which was absolutely tremendous. 2-minute walk to the river, not even, maybe 30-second walk to the river.
Best river I've ever fucking been able to
clear. It's clear. It's huge. It's just like the rivers you see out of a movie. And so that camp spot was pretty awesome, and we didn't want to lose our campsite either by moving to Featherville. And so we decided, you know, we're going to stay there. We're going to take Dan's advice, and we're going to head straight up this bitch. Which was in some case it was successful.
Yeah.
But I would say that if I had to do it over again, I would not. Like you said, the class 3, like that stuff, it shook me a little bit. Climbing up that, like some of those like slopes were just so steep, and then like the footing was just so terrible. And like I had Manny, I could tell Manny was starting to get nervous because he was getting real close to me, and like it was just like it was a lot for that first time to really go out and do that, and only taking, you know, a little bit of water with us. Like we said, we should have taken way more water, because we climbed up probably what, Joe, a mile
For day one?
Yeah, maybe
Probably a little less than a mile.
probably like 0.75 to 0.9
Yeah.
is what I'd have to guess. And we went, I think, 1,500 feet in elevation in half a mile. So like,
Yeah.
and
we had to start after work too, so we're starting at.
It was probably closer to 5 o'clock.
Right. We started, so we had just maybe 2 hours to kind of get to where we could, and so we hiked for basically an hour and a half straight, as best we could. Got up to this ridge top. We're like, okay, this looks kind of nice. We'll throw a picture up in there, and we ended up camping there and had a good first night.
Yeah, I mean, we brought, you know, Joey added mashed potatoes. He used 2 cups of water, which I about shit myself when he did that.
I had it.
You did. You didn't have a dog with you. My dog was drinking all my damn water, and like I was more concerned about him because, like we said too, he didn't have a choice to go up there. So that was on my mind heavy the whole time. But we had a great camp, set up our tent. Joe's fucking so he sleeps with a tarp, and he downloaded a tarp video before we got up there.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it can be confusing putting them together. So most of the time, I just have like I keep a video of me for like gutting a deer, you know, field dressing a deer, because I'm like, I'm not gonna come up here.
I mean,
you've
only done it twice,
right?
Like including that deer,
Right.
you know.
And
So it's nice to have backups.
And then I'm trying to set my tarp up and it's the dark. So we set up Drake's tent first, because I've set that up 100 times, and so we can set that up pretty quick. But it starts getting dark out, and I'm like, all right, we got to set up my tarp quick. And I'm like watching the video. I get about halfway through, and I put it in my pocket. I take it back out again. The tarp video is gone. So I must have pocket deleted that video.
He was so shook up about that too.
Pissed,
like
man.
you were just like, how, and then you kept trying to like close the app, open it again, like if it was there.
It
like
was chops. I knew it was chops too, but I was just like, this is ridiculous.
But yes, so he got that deleted. So we didn't start off on the right foot, really, right there. So we kind of makeshifted, and it turned out well.
It was
I thought
fine.
It was a fine
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it was fine. It wasn't as nice, I think, if we would have had the whole video, but it's also just hard to stake anything out up there, man. It's just the terrain is so dusty, so sandy, so
Needly. Like
Yeah.
a lot of pine needles and shit too.
There's not a whole lot of grip to the earth here. You know what I mean? Like
So I was on rock duty. I went and found some rocks and shit, and like
we
set it up the way
rocks and rope, and we got it squared away. It was nice.
yeah. So like it was a fun, and like the nights don't bother me at all. I just know that when we walked up that hill, like I said, 1,500 feet of elevation gain in a half mile, and then we probably walked maybe a quarter mile like farther. I don't even know, probably a little bit even less than that. But yeah, and so I decided to, you know, bring my dog with me for the first time too, which it was fine. I didn't love it because I was almost worried more about him than I was the hunt. So I got to consider what I want to do next time with him. But went to bed that night, had a half a liter of water left, basically. I was running very low on water. So my primary focus then was we had our water filters. We had stuff that we were prepared for to find water, filter it out, fill up our stuff, and like keep on trucking. So we woke up the next day, probably a little later than we should have, past first light. It was probably about 8 o'clock. And then we got ready, got everything done with camp probably around. We probably start hiking again around 9, I'd say. And this was basically a trek for me. Was the whole point of the hike today was, or that day was, to find water almost more than it was to kill a deer. And so that was like, and when you're on the mountain, I figured out that's not the mindset you want to have. It's pretty much just got to be focused on your primary goal, because the mountain will beat the fuck out of you mentally. Physically, it's going to, no matter what. For me, it was going to do that. I was ready for that. I wasn't prepared for how mentally challenging it would also be, because of just like, it's like the adversity, just like even with your steps, like you're facing adversity.
It's every step too. Like, it's just relentless. So you have to be more stubborn than the mountain, which is hard to do. I mean, these are stubborn things. But we were running low on water. What happened?
No, so we keep obviously we're hiking, and I'm dying here. I'm sweating. So it's 9 o'clock. We probably walk for a couple hours, and like I'm at the top already, and I'm like, I am not having fun. There's even video of Joe being like, trying to keep the spirits up, having a good time, yada yada, and I'm down bad. I'm sitting. I already saw the videos too, and I'm like, I'm down bad, sitting there fucking sweating my ass off.
His body language is so poor.
Oh, so shitty.
He's defeated.
It was.
All right, Drake and I are really suffering at this point.
I'll never do this again.
He's on camera. Man, he's fed up. I'm trying to keep the spirits of the group up. We've seen 0 deer, and we have 0 liters of water. And Drake's down to 0 patience with this. So we're making our way to a like 4-wheeler road. We're gonna have to hike down that maybe a mile or 2 before there's gonna be any water, but it'll at least be a road. We will not have to bushwhack. Other than no water though, I'm feeling pretty good. I think Drake's just fed up with the mountain stuff, which is all right. It's not for everybody. So the plan is get to that road, get some water, finish the hike out back to camp. We're gonna take it easy for a day at camp, maybe 2. And then we need to come up with a new plan to hop back on the horse. We still spent too much money out here to just give up that easy. Now, we don't have to do quite what we're doing today. I don't think anyone wants to do that. Yeah, he's right here. He's just laying down. But yeah, we're gonna come up with a different plan. No doubt the hike was good for our cardio though. Getting our cardio up big time. Definitely lost maybe 3 pounds, maybe 5, just in water weight, just sweating so much. Drake's what time we wake up? We woke up really early. 8:30. We probably woke up at 8:30, got out of the...
We woke up at 7:30, probably got out of there by 8:30.
Yeah, I probably got out of camp by 8:30. Since 8:30, Drake's been dripping sweat. So he's, I'd say we're dehydrated. The nice thing is we do have a nice cloud cover today. Not a ton of sun out.
He's defeated.
It was super shitty. But like, again, I was pissed. I also found out I just drink way more fucking water than you do too, like on hikes.
Yeah.
You don't really drink like much. Like we went on the 8-mile hike a couple of days ago when we went hunting, and he probably had maybe 2 sips of water. I think I drank 3 full twist top Gatorade like bottles full of water, because I ended up taking a gallon of water with me the second hunt. But yeah, so obviously packed too light, and you were trying to keep the spirits up, and you were fine. You were hiking, doing your thing. I thought we were moving at a decent pace. And like you said, I think I was probably even moving too fast, because like I was probably even overworking myself because I wanted to get done. And there's nothing like, you can't rush at the mountain either.
Well, there's no done. Like, you're not done until you turn around and come back home and step foot in camp. Then you can, like, you're done.
Right.
But there's really no, like, unless you shoot 2 deer and we're on our way home, that's done. But like, there's no point in rushing up the top of that next hill. There's no point in rushing anywhere. There's no point in getting worked up about Manny. He ain't going nowhere. There's just no point in, it's just like, just gotta just one foot in front of the other and enjoy it.
Yeah, that's easy for someone to say that loves doing this shit. This was, like I said, my first time really experiencing it, where it's like, at one point I was pretty much like fuck hunting. Like I'm done. Like doing this right now. Like I gotta find water was pretty much the only thing I was thinking the whole time. And we kept trying to break it down in segments, and it was like, oh, we only have like, a mile to go, and we're good. That mile is not a regular mile up there. Like that is not a regular mile up in those in the hills up here, because you're hiking up pretty much the entire time. And everybody told us here too after we got back that these hills are no joke. These are legit. And so it's probably around noon, would you say? What time did you end up killing your deer?
Probably
1 o'clock?
Between 12:40 and 1.
Right. So we're walking basically constant from this time. We're taking, obviously, breaks. And it's probably, I would say it was probably 12:30. And I'm at the point where, like, I got to take my I'm, like, thinking about dropping my pack where I'm at to be able to continue to even walk to where I'm supposed to go. And I was beat down at this point, mentally and physically. I think if I was in a little better shape, I would have been able to do what I needed to do. But there was no way that I was getting, like, once we got so far out there, there was no way. There was just no way I felt I could get back to where I needed to go in one piece with my dog, with the amount of water we had. So I had a freak out. And Joe and I were at the top of the mountain, and I'm sitting there, and I'm, like, sleeping on my pack. I'm, like, head down, fucked up, like, and Joe's like, okay, I'm just going to go up here and, like, see basically where you're, like, just keep moving. He said, move as much as you can whenever you can. And then he said, Drake, you gotta be moving. I gotta be able to see
This
you.
is like way before. This is like, you skipped so much. You already skipped me shooting the deer.
No, I haven't.
Yes, huh?
Mm-mm.
Yes, you have.
No,
Yes,
because
you have.
I was gonna.
This is 2 hours after I shot the deer. I'm telling you,
2 hours? No way,
bro. I'm telling you, his time's all fucked up with the whole situation. He can't remember what happened was. So we come up the backside of this hill, and we got one little push to get over it. We can take a break. We'll have to go down a little bit and then up to the road, right? And that's essentially what.
And the road was this 8-mile hike that we did.
Right.
That was where the road was.
So I know Drake's struggling. He's not moving very fast. He's pretty much done with it. He's pretty much over it. And so I say, okay, hey, I'm going to take my pack and the rifle to the top of the hill. I'm going to drop the pack. I'm going to drop the rifle. I'm going to come back down. I'll grab your pack. We'll get you to the top of the hill. Just take it easy for a few minutes. Yep. And you say, Roger that. You say, Manny, come here. Stay with me. Yep. Manny comes. Manny's huffing and puffing too. And so they stay there. So I go up, and I'm taking my pack and the gun to the top of the hill. I get to the top of the hill, and I'm creeping. I'm still hunting, and I hear a big rustle, and boom, my deer pops out.
How far away do you think it was?
90 yards, maybe give or take 10 yards. Could have been 80, could have been 100, but probably about 90. And I didn't range him. I didn't pull out the binoculars for him. He was close, and so I just pulled the rifle up. We already had one chambered because we were, like, laughing about it in the morning. Like, get it ready. It's October 10th. It's opening day. We can rock around. So put it off safe, put it to fire. And I took a shot at him, and I missed over his back. And he just looks at me. And we've talked to a couple people since then, and they're like, yeah, these deer just don't, especially the bucks, they just don't see people very often. And if you're not on an ATV or a quad, they don't know to be scared of you. So I cock it back, bolt action it back, push another one in, shoot again, nail him. Great shot.
Oh, smoked him. Like,
Great
smoked
shot.
him. Like,
Yep.
Because, like, one guy said, the same guy we saw at the cafe and we saw out in the Bucut, he said that he shot a mule deer and shot it in the heart, and it went 200 yards.
Right. I shot this guy so I shot him my second shot. I absolutely nailed him, and I see that through the rifle scope. I rack another one in because he's still walking. He's not running, though. He's just moving. And I send another one. Miss him again. And so I only had 3 shots in the rifle at the time. I'm not sure what the rule is here. Maybe you can have 5. Maybe you can have 3. I don't know. So I start getting another one out and getting it loaded up in the rifle. And I'm still looking to my left or right to see if he takes off. I'm going to try and put another one in him. But then I hear a kind of a crash, just a big flop into, it sounds like a pile of leaves or a pile of branches. And then you come up over the hill because you just heard 3 shots go off.
Oh yeah, and oh yeah, and then I'm sprinting up this motherfucker. Like, oh my god, Joe, and he's not responding, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I have no clue whether he's shooting a deer or shot at a bear or what the fuck is going on, and I'm like freaking out because I'm yelling Joe's name, and he's obviously hunting, so he's not responding. I have no clue what's going on, and so like, yeah, I was just freaking out. I used basically probably the rest of my energy to get up that motherfucker and see, and then Joe's like, I think I shot a deer. I think he's down. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I think he's down. And like, I just remember that's like kind of like the last stuff I remember of just you saying like, down.
So he's sitting kind of up on top of the mountain that we climbed, like just on the other side of it. So he sprinted all the way to the top, came over to the other side where it starts to kind of go down, and you were done. You just had to sit, and so you just dropped down with the pack, no problem.
I couldn't even celebrate really.
And while I was shooting, because it was unsupported, so this was just like how you'd shoot a shotgun if you were doing ski, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just at the, just fired.
Quick scope.
Yep, quick scope. And then I dropped after I think the second shot, or maybe after the third shot, I dropped my bag. I dropped my pack just kind of on the move so I took, a couple rifle rounds out, put it in my pocket, dropped my pack, and just kept moving just in case he tried to take off. And so you come running over, Joe. I'm like, yeah. Yeah. He's like, you good? I was like, I think I got a buck. You said, really? I was like, I think I got a buck. And I'm like, I don't know if he's dead. He said, put another one in him. I was like, I don't see him. And so I walk up on him, and I see him laying there. I see his horns. I say, buck down. And you're like, put another one in him. I was like, I think he's dead. I think he's dead.
I don't remember saying it again.
You were like, make sure that fucker's dead. And I get that, but he was dead. Yeah. And then, so I get the deer, and I put the rifle in my pack. I put the rifle next to the deer. And then I start working back towards you. I'm like, can you come here? You're like, I need a break. And I'm like, yep, no problem. No problem. And I left my pack up on the mountain because I had to come, I came down. He's 90 yards away, but he's probably 200 feet down. So I leave the rifle with him, and I go pick up my pack, and then I start working my way towards you. I get you, we get a hug, and you're down bad. You're like, I can't move. And I'm like, it's fine. Give me your pack. We'll get it popping. So I take Drake's pack and I put it on my back, and then I carry my pack to the deer. And I'm on fucking.
Yeah, you're on fucking adrenaline mode.
Yeah, I'm hyped, man. I just fucking got a nice looking buck from about 100 yards away. Just, couldn't be set up any more perfect, especially if you guys could have heard the conversation Drake and I were having. Drake was like, fuck this. I'll never do this again. Right? Completely down and out. Absolutely has given up.
And I think there's video proof. Hey, cut to the video.
Yeah, cut to it.
Okay, we're back.
And so he is completely defeated. And it's just so funny. Like, it was just over that next hill. Right? So it's like, it just.
Literally.
He was done. I'll never do this again. 10 minutes later.
Mountain gave it to you.
Deer. Yeah. It's just, it was a cool moment. And so, so I get Drake to the deer. We get pictures. We'll put some pictures up. And you'll see a picture of Drake too. Look at Drake's body language in him. He is down bad. Not even a smile.
Can't even smile. Can't even have fun. I don't even remember enjoying the deer. Like, I remember feeling bad after because it was like I couldn't even celebrate. Like, I couldn't even celebrate the victory that we just had. It was like we just won the Super Bowl, genuinely.
Yeah.
And couldn't celebrate it.
Yep. He was down bad.
So I try to get a second wind, and Joe's like, just put the packs down. We'll go up to the road. I just get to the road, and like I'll get us water and get us like where we need to go from there. And so we probably walk for I don't even know 1 minute.
Yeah,
I don't
minutes,
even.
And you're
and I was like,
I'm gonna puke, man. And I keep trying to tell him, guys, He also Drake hadn't ate much, so he had no energy. He had no water.
Manny.
And what's another word for it, right? You were just, and you're having no more fun, and that means you're running on actually E. There's nothing like you need food, you need water, or
Well, you need energy,
something.
or you need good or positive
Right,
energy.
something. And so he's got nothing. He doesn't want to have anything. He's got no water. He's not eating. He said eating will make me more thirsty, and I get that.
And I was eating.
But you also need that energy. You need
tried.
that energy.
So I tried to eat one of those
granola bars,
like the Nutri-Grain, like granola.
Nature Valley.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Nature Valley bars, and it made my fucking mouth drier than the Sahara Desert. So I was like, I couldn't even swallow it. Like I was dehydrated to the point where like my throat hurt. Like I was breathing and huffing and puffing with no water for long enough to where like my throat, I couldn't eat when I got back to camp.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was at the point where we were up there. I was looking at the map. I knew how much more we had to go. We had to get up 0.3 miles up to the trail, and then it was a 6-mile hike, at least back to like camp. Probably more. Probably 8 miles.
Yeah, probably closer to 8.
And like
But I knew if we got to people, we'd be good. And it was
Right.
only 4 miles to people.
Right.
And I knew it was less to water because while we were on that trail, we literally walked by water.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 2 miles in.
Right on the because we walked the dirt bike trail after. But let's get to this point. I was basically done up there. I did the math. I was like, we don't have any water to get back. Not knowing what we knew after we walked farther, like the next time we went out. I had no clue where water was, and I made the decision. I was like, I just need to fucking get off this mountain. And I was talking to Joe, and I said it probably 30 minutes before that, like, I'm gonna have to fucking call someone. And you're like, you're not fucking calling anyone.
Well, it's because I knew it wasn't. I didn't think you were gonna die on the mountain. So it's like if I thought you were gonna die, if you broke an ankle, if you twisted an ankle, if there was something stopping you from moving, I'd be like, yeah, give him a call. But it's like,
yeah. Well, anyway, 20 minutes after that, I decided after, Joe got his deer, I was like, I have nothing more to give. There's no way I'm getting off this fucker. And with the idea of like my dog also being safe, because I think that's why I said having him, I think stressed me out more than it should have. And I let that kind of get to me as well. But I ended up calling search and rescue, and we were talking to him on the phone. I called the wrong one the first time, so then they gave me a new number to call. And then I ended up calling those guys, and Sarge, I don't remember his last name, but I was talking to him, and he was like, yeah, it's gonna be like 6 hours if we go by like 4-wheeler. So like, what do you want? Like, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. I just want to get off this fucker. And like, I said, I have my dog. We have no water, and I'm scared. I'm scared that I'm not gonna be able to get off here. I'm gonna hurt him or hurt myself or do something that's, not good for myself. So I made that call, and honestly, a way better experience than I was like waiting for, because like these, I mean, you're embarrassed anytime you try to do something and you have to rely on other people to get you off, because like you should have yourself in these situations, and you should protect yourself in these situations that you put yourself in. But when we called them and they literally flew in, like we have footage and everything of it, flew in on the mountain, they landed. I got an IV right there on the mountain. And
you should go to camera 3.
Camera 3, I'll check it out. Let's see. The Manny Cam, I think it's.
I'm gonna call it camera 3 because I think if we say his name, Cam, he might get juiced up.
Yeah,
but I think camera 3 is funny.
Yeah, camera 3 is a good one. So that's called our Manny Cam.
Our little baby.
But yes, we set up 3 cameras here. Production's getting on the next level.
These are all HD too.
Yeah, I mean, then look at this scene too. Frisbee in the mouth. He's even right behind me, so it's kind of perfect. But yeah, so the search and rescue gets there. They give me a liter of. They gave me an IV, which literally brought me straight back to life. They end up bringing bottles of water. Probably, I don't know, 6 bottles. I couldn't believe they didn't bring like a case of water. To be completely honest,
yeah,
I was like,
you'd think they'd have a little bit more, but they're also like the IV. They probably brought that. Maybe they had like 5 IVs, which is probably more than like, they didn't. They were like thinking they were saving people, not necessarily like,
hey, we need water.
Yeah, right.
But like that was the reality of the situation for us, and I like calling them and doing that. It sucked because they couldn't take me, Joe, and Bubs. They could only take one person. And that was something that I was just like, that fucking, absolutely sucks. So I ended up having to get flown off there, back down to camp. There's people that come up to me and they're like, "Are you okay?" Like they're talking to me, asking me about my story when I got back, and I told them the story, and they're like, "Well, we're glad you at least called, and like you're safe, basically." And like everybody was just supportive down here instead of being like, "Oh, you're a retard."
This is what you think you're gonna get. Yeah.
Because like I felt that way, and I still feel that way, but like that's just kind of part of it. That's learning and growing from the situation. But this dude drove me back to our campsite, gave me a ride, and I was like, yeah, I mean, everybody I've met here is awesome. He's like, yep, we're Idaho. What'd he say? Yep, we're just folks. That's folks from Idaho, basically. Like,
Just taking care of each other.
Yep, and I mean, we felt that at this point. So I get back to camp, and it's probably 5:00, and you haven't even started gutting your deer yet. I don't think, have you?
Probably just started.
Yeah.
Essentially, 15 minutes after the helicopter leaves, and we will put videos of the helicopter landing and Drake taking off in it. Drake takes off, and then it's just me and Manny by ourselves on top of the mountain, and we still have to. And the sun's going down quick. We sat there for I probably sat there for too long. I should have handled the deer
before because it was 36-minute drive for the helicopter to get there from where they were at.
So we probably should have been gutting the deer and getting the deer squared away. That way, I could have. We could have put the deer on the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
And just
quartered it out, and they said they've had deer quartered out and took it down there too. So like, probably would have made things easier in the long run.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the fact that we're 0.3 miles away from the trail. And then I remember right before leaving, I'm like, Joe, are you gonna go up to like the trail? And you're like, no, I'm just going that way. I'm just going back to camp that way. Do you think going like that way, you do it again if you had to, or would you just go to the trail knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I'd go to the trail now. After being on the trail.
But also just you didn't like it is so like we said, it is so fucking thick. Everything is thick.
Yeah.
And if it's not thick, it's a steep incline. And if it's not a steep incline, it's fucking all sand. Yeah. Or it's downed wood. Like a lot of birch trees down, just stuff that's fallen for fires, basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, the terrain is not easy, and like, yeah, I was at camp. I made some spaghetti. I got shit ready for camp. I couldn't even eat the spaghetti, like I said, because my throat was so fucked up. And like you felt that too when you got back from camp.
The roof of my mouth.
That's what it was. It was like the back of it was like the roof of your mouth, but like the back of your throat and the roof of your mouth, and like it was like raw. Like my shit was raw. It was stinging. Like you can't even like I don't even know how to describe it. I've never felt that in my life.
Yeah. The I don't know. Look up some like symptoms of real dehydration, and like when you eat and there's like pain on the roof of your mouth, like that's like, oh, you need to drink some water.
So I'm down at camp. I made spaghetti, and I was waiting on those guys, and I get a text from Zoe, and she says, and it's just basically copy pasted from what you said. It was like, tell Drake that I'm gonna be up here for the night or something, and I was like, oh fuck, like I'm gonna have to sit here and just eat them being out there all alone, like. Because like I knew you were going to be fine. You've done outdoor shit like this before. So I always knew that you were going to take care of Manny and be okay. But it was everybody else that just kept hitting me up like, are they back yet? Is Joe good yet? And it's like, Joe's always, and I kept having to say, Joe's always good. Like, he's going to be fine. Yeah. He wouldn't put himself in a situation where he wasn't going to be okay. Because, like, you had confidence when they left. You're like, oh, I can get back to camp. Like, there was,
good.
Like, yeah.
I knew it was good.
And so, like, that gave me, the way you answered their questions gave me confidence that you were going to be fine. But it would just, people that kept hitting me up being like, oh, like, is he good? Have you heard from Joe yet? Because, like, it was my sister and my mom. And they just wanted everybody to be safe or whatever.
Sure.
And you slept overnight. How was that? Like, by, like, doing it alone?
Yeah.
Like, what was it intense? Like, did you like it? Was there stuff that you would, like, have with you every time you do that type of thing now?
Yeah, I think, well, one, just to preface it, I've done a lot of hiking, and I've spent a lot of nights out in the backcountry by myself. And it doesn't particularly bother me. Even I've done it in grizzly country. I've done it in black bear country. I've done it in Ohio, right, where there's nothing. I've done it where there's snakes. I've done it where there's creepy crawlies, and I've never really had an issue.
And that's something, too. Like, we had fucking ants and everything all over our shit when we were camping. And, like that first night, and I was just like, yeah, you just got to have to eat it. Yeah. And, like, pinch it off the back of your neck and throw it.
Yeah, just go to sleep.
Right.
how you say it. It's I've never gone to bed out in the middle of bear country, mountain lion country, smelling like deer blood and carcass. And I have, I got back straps in my bag, and I have a whole entire hide with me. Like, I smell like a deer, a dead deer, like a deer, like something wants to eat. So yeah, if I'm out in the backcountry with a deer on my back, I will have my gun very close to me, and even while we were out there. So Manny, and again, I don't have a tent, guys. I don't bring a tent. I have a tarp. The bear can go through a tent in 2 seconds, and I know there is a psychological benefit to it, but at a certain point, it's like, hey, beat that psychological.
Well, I liked having the little cover because like I could have slept with the screen, just the screen top, and then I was like, I kind of just want the full cover because like I wanted it to be like canceled out from the real world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it plays like a really big and nice psychological role, but like it's not real. And so it was a horrible night.
Well, you're also on the side of a cliff, basically.
Right.
Like
so Manny and I, like I said, I misjudged. I made a mistake. I should have taken the road, and I decided it would be faster, and it probably wasn't very much. It wasn't faster. It was probably an hour slower to go through the bush than it would have been to take the road.
Because you pretty much ended up back like
probably about
where the road was.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like in the old lot or that Hot Spring Road. Like you pretty much ended up there. You would have just ended up coming down that road anyway.
Yeah. And so I would, if I could do it again, if you'd put me back up there and butchered the deer, I would have took the road, and I probably would have took more meat because I understand the just terrain and situation a little better.
Well, and honestly, even getting up to that road, I don't think I could have made it that day when I was up there, but when we did it again, I was like, that wasn't terrible compared to what we had.
If you would have made it to the road, and I could have got you some water, came back, because that would have only been 4 miles for me, and 4 trail miles, and I can push myself to do 20 trail miles.
In a day, yeah. And you've done that before.
Yeah, and I can push myself to do 15, 20 trail miles with minimal water. And so if I could have just done, 2 miles to get you water, 2 miles back, that's 4. And I could have cranked out another, 4 back to the van essentially. And that'll put me at 8 miles plus what I did that day. I'd been probably at 12, 15 miles. And I think I could have handled it that day. But again, you got to get to the road first, and we got to be able to make that call. And next time we can. We know where we're at.
And I will, that's the thing too, learning from that situation. I was on Manny Cam and I got stuck. But learning from the situation in general, I know what I'm walking into now and what it's going to take to walk up these mountains. And you even told me the box trick, the 16-inch box trick. I'm going to do the shit out of that when I get home. That's just something that I think is, you do a little bit of that every day, and you keep getting better at that every day. You're going to be able to get it done. And realistically, the odds of me getting it done before we get out of here, very low, because I don't really want to go back up into there in the shape I'm in, because I don't think we can realistically get to the spots where these deer are at this time around, in my head.
Yeah, not without me having to do a lot of extra work.
Exactly, and that's not fair to you. Just to get my deer, we got your, and I'm pretty satisfied with getting out here and having that story in itself, and knowing what we're gonna get into the next time we do this. Is it disappointing that I'm probably not gonna get my tag field, and it's $600 kind of down the drain? Not really, because it was about the experience, and that's what this guy.
We got a sick helicopter ride for it.
Oh my god! I will say though, the views in that thing were incredible. They were and shout out Sam. I might have to tag him in this podcast. I was talking to him, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to get you on the podcast, and he ended up having a podcast.
That's awesome.
So we'll have Sam on and just talk about some of the stuff that he's seen or the things that he's done or went through. Talk about our situation a little bit, and just kind of pick his brain on search and rescue stuff, because it was, they were very nice people. The pilot. He was
shout out Bernie.
Yeah, Bernie was he was the pilot that was there, and he kept taking so many pictures. Yeah. He sent us a ton of pictures of us at the time. Took pictures with Joe and his deer.
Yeah, he
took picture with me and Manny, when we were sitting there getting my IV.
Yeah. And I think he likes to make sit reps, right? Situation reports, or just kind of like he loves putting pictures in his sit rep. So like when they're training people, they're like, hey, this is what you're gonna see. And so like this is a classic case of 2 hunters going out, didn't bring enough water, and like need a rescue. So I think at least will help in the kind of academic world.
Right. And so I, like I said, I'm down there. It's day 2. They slept. Joe had to fire off a few shots. You didn't even mention that, really.
Yeah. So yeah, while I was sleeping out, and like I said, I got a deer hide with me. I got back straps on my bag. I smell like deer. I smell like deer. And while I'm sitting there at night, because I didn't sleep very well, as you could imagine. Just the anxiety in your head, you know what I mean? You stink like their food. It's one thing to stink like Pop-Tarts.
Well, and you also are just like out in the cut by yourself.
Yeah.
Like on top of smelling like deer, having deer in your pack, and your whole pack smelling like meat.
Right.
And your body and your fucking legs, your legs have blood and everything
all over everything, man. I got blood everywhere. I got, my hands like smell. And
they gave you, and they probably gave you what, 5-6 bottles of water?
I think 6 bottles of water is what they gave me.
And Manny probably, like you said, drank most of those.
I think Manny drank about 4 of them. I had 2. But we both had 1 while they were there. Mm-hmm. So I had, really 3.
Right. And they had no other water other than that. And that's the one thing I was really worried about. And that's the thing that gave me at least a little bit of confidence in calling those guys, was getting us water and helping us get down the rest of the way. But you ended up finding water.
I did, yeah. So I got the deer kind of gutted. I hung some quarters up in a tree with some gear that I didn't need to bring anymore. And packed up the hide and packed up the back straps and tenderloin. And started hiking down that evening, and then the sun went down quick. And this is why I wish I could have took the road. So I start hiking through the bush. It is
Go.
Careful.
Go.
Yep.
Back up. Thank you.
So I start hiking through the bush. It gets dark quickly, and just 1 minute you're hiking, the next you start kind of stumbling because you can't see. And you want to keep pushing because, Drake's waiting. You're with his dog, and you smell like deer. But at a certain point, I just had to make the call of, I can't keep. I'll break a leg. We'll really be screwed. Mm-hmm. So I basically just stopped exactly where I was. I didn't go find a campsite. I didn't look for a flat spot. I said, this is it. It's too dark to do anything. And I dropped my pack, and I dropped the deer, and I had to set up camp for the night. And so I put the tarp down, got my sleeping bag, got Manny covered up with what I had extra, and we get settled in for a long night. So between 9 and 11, I'm not sleeping at all. I'm just up, trying to get my mind to kind of, it's a busy day.
Settle down. Right. I mean, it's up and down.
Yeah, that's a busy day.
And you have your deer.
Yep, I got a deer on me. I got a dog with me. I got my buddy fucking on
back
the
at camp.
And
like I had to opt out of going. I had to opt out of going to the hospital too.
Yeah, they're
like
trying
on
to
the
take
paper.
you to Twin Falls. That's another 2.5 hours I'd have to drive after I got back. We ain't doing that.
No.
And so I just dropped down everything. I put my tarp down. I put my sleeping bag down. I get Manny as comfortable as I can get him, and me and him are just spooning all night. And then I don't know, between 11 and 1 o'clock, I'm hearing some rustles, some big rustles, and I think, guys, I hear a snort, grunt, something, and that's a big no for me. So I take the Glock out and I fire a shot, bang, and I've been firing a couple shots already. So after Drake left, I'm getting ready to process the deer. Deer's been laying there for a few hours. I let off a shot, just letting anything know that's looking.
And the helicopter came too. They said that'd probably scare a lot of shit too.
But you're out there by yourself, and this is their food. So I let off a shot. When Manny and I were getting ready to leave after I packed the deer up, I let off a shot. When Manny and I got to camp, I let off a shot, like when we finally stopped. And then that was my final shot of the evening, was just when I heard that kind of grunt. I just kind of aimed toward the grunt, and I let one fly. Could have been an elk. It could have been another mule deer. Could have been a mountain lion. Could have been a bear.
Yeah, you just didn't see it. You didn't get eyes on it, so you're not really going to know like that either.
Yeah, and so I let one go, and that helped me sleep a little easier. Because Manny was out. Manny was not. You think a dog's going to wake up? He was snoring. He was out. He was a nervous wreck. So it was just up to me. And so, yep, I let off one, and that was about the only animal I heard outside of outside of squirrels or birds or whatever. And I slept in that day. So I went to bed a little late just because anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And I slept in until about 8, 9 o'clock that morning. Just waited for it to get real because it was cold too.
Yeah.
That was a cold night. So I just waited for it to get real nice and sunny, nice and warm. Because Manny was shivering all night. I was cold all night. I had the sleeping bag as open as, it's like a mummy bag. And I had it open so he could get an extra layer underneath him, and I was covering him up with another blanket I had. So I was trying my best to keep him from dying. He was fine. We were both fine. But we woke up that morning, and it was a 5-hour slog. Probably ended up being close to 3.5, 4 miles after I kind of did it. Just a slog to get out of the mountains and back down to civilization here.
Yeah, I got a text from Zoe, I think at like 2:30.
Because Drake refuses to update his phone, so I can talk to him.
I think it's updated now, but I didn't update it because I was like 4 updates behind. I updated one update and thought it was good enough, but it was not. I didn't read the notes. But she texted me and was like, pick him up at this location, and so like I dropped everything and fucking just went. And he sent me the coordinates, and I go to pick him up, and this hard ass like doesn't even get in the car, puts Manny in the car. Manny's got his fucking orange wrapped on him, like as a leash, and then like Joe's vest, and then he puts Bubs in the car, and he's like, yeah, I just got to finish this. So the hard ass finished the hike, and they got back probably around 3 o'clock, and that's probably the happiest I've ever been able to like at least see you. I was just like ready to be like back to normal, and it was fun. It was just, I was happy knowing that you guys were safe, and especially with that text from Zoe. Like it took me 6 miles the opposite way too, like the place where I was going. It took me 6 miles the opposite way, so it probably took me 15-20 minutes out of the way, and then I get back and I can't find you, so then I stop the car, and I'm pretty sure you end up walking on some like, you like cut through some of these land and like some shit that maybe we weren't supposed to.
I don't think I ever went on any private land, but I got
it was
real
so
close.
Yeah, it was, and like you don't know, everything looks the fucking same up there anyway.
I don't, and I honestly at that point I was like, I don't care.
And
I didn't do anything illegal on your land, you know what I mean? I'm just walking through it trying to get this deer back to civilization. Like any reasonable person, I think, if they had a conversation with me, would understand. But
I mean,
also, there's just assholes out here sometimes. Yeah, not out here, just everywhere.
In general. Well, the landowner that I stopped by, she was at her house, and she's like, "Are you looking for somebody?" I said, "Yeah, my buddy killed a deer like last night. He stayed out in the bush with my dog, and like he said he was going to be here, and now I'm just kind of worried about him." And she's like, "All right, that's fine. You can like do whatever you got to do." And she just didn't care either. So, I mean, she was nice about it, and not even 10 minutes later, you end up showing up out of the bush. So, like, everything ended up being good. I mean, it was a celebration too. The only thing that we didn't have was your deer head. You end up leaving your deer head at a certain spot, probably a couple miles, maybe a mile off.
No, way less than a mile. 0.3, 0.4.
Well, it felt like a long walk when we were when we walked up to go and get it.
It was only like 40 minutes. What do you mean? That's quick. That was the quickest hike we've done this whole time.
Well, anyway, it was still out in the cut. I mean, your shit was still fucking out there. I mean, you even said yourself, you're like, I wish I would have just brought it with me, but like, you had to make the choice to drop that shit to make it easier for yourself because you knew Manny was struggling a little bit.
Yeah, he was moving slow. He had no pep in his step. He was not a happy boy, and so I made the choice. Yeah, and if you ever, if you ever see me, you can take a look at my maps, take a look at my average speed the first 3 miles, and then like you'll see the moment I took my pack off, like my top speed like skyrockets. Right, I'm going from like 0.3 miles an hour to like 3 miles an hour. You know what I mean? Like a 10x, speed boost. So, dropping the rifle, dropping the pack, and that pack was heavy. Dude.
I bet you the pack was 70 pounds. It was probably a 70 to 75
heavy.
pound pack.
I wish I had my scale with me because I totally would have checked it, but yeah, it was heavy.
Yeah. So I mean. So the next day, I think we gave it, 1 or 2 days to go get your stuff?
One. We went up the next day.
Okay, yeah. So we went up. He rested that night, and then we ended up waking up that next day and going up and getting it. Got it down. We ended up caping it out. Got a nice cape. Honestly, our first time ever doing it. It's gross doing it, but like it's part of hunting. Like if you want to be a hunter, you're gonna have to do this shit. And like it's respectful to the animal to try to keep as much as you can from them too. Yeah. Especially with losing all that meat, I think caping him out and doing
Yeah.
like doing it the right way is like even respecting him and like giving him like his justice.
And honestly, if I would have shot the deer today, his meat probably would have been okay. But
Yeah.
like it was just
hot.
mm-hmm. Abnormally hot. I mean, 25 degrees higher than like the average temperature, which
Can't. Hey, I'm glad we got it. I'm glad we got it done day one, so we can enjoy these last 10 days. You know, from even doing from the 25. The difference of 25 degrees is insane. It's like 75 degrees here. It's like it's October in the mountains, and like we're
75's hot too. It's annoying hot. It's like fucking gotta get out of the bus. Gotta like everything's.
There's bugs. There's still fucking ants. There's flies everywhere.
Right.
And there's like you have to get fly strips. It's just been hot like that. So you're gonna run into those issues, mice, shit like that. But we ended up getting it. We have the skull, like you guys saw. We have the skull all cleaned up as much as we can. Probably do one more soak in like a big turkey pot with some real peroxide, some 10%, right?
Yeah.
And I think Joe wants to get it shoulder mounted, don't you?
I'd love to. Yeah, if my taxidermist is willing.
Yeah, if the taxidermist is willing, you know who the taxidermist is, bud. So we hopefully can have something like that. And if not, I think the skull's worked out pretty well.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I think it'll be a nice European mount, worst case scenario, with maybe can do something with the hide and like make it look good. And,
A floor rug or something like that would be kind of nice. Just like a throw blanket.
Yeah, a little throw for the bed or something, especially for my van. Like having my deer in the van.
Yeah,
like,
that'd be cool.
On it every night would be cool.
That'd be cool. But yeah, I mean that was pretty much the hunt that we've done for the most part. I mean, we did 8 miles 2 days ago. And like we said, if we had an ATV, we could do 8 of those miles and then walk 3 miles out and be deeper than anybody could possibly get, basically.
Right.
So there's some stuff that we can adjust. And I mean, I have a rhino. We could bring a rhino out next time. I know Andrew's got a 4-wheeler, and hopefully he could come out and we could use a 4-wheeler.
I even have a dirt bike. I just
Right.
Yeah.
You have a dirt bike. We could even brought your dirt bike out and done that. So we have some options and things to think about for the next time, but I think overall this is a successful, at least if anything, a successful first time. Like I couldn't ask for a better hunt in terms of getting the deer.
Yeah.
Now
good-sized deer.
Now the lesson that was learned and all the stuff that we just discussed, like I think you can always improve and I know next time we come out, I think I will be ready to do these hikes, and I think we'll have our plan down and our pack down, and everything's going to be a little tighter. But yeah, I would say very fun trip so far. Van life. This is van life. You know, like you're
if you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like we see a lot of people out here in these big campers and doing their things, and they're going home.
Right behind you.
Right, and we've been out here this whole time. People were like, "When are you leaving?" It's like until I get a deer, basically, or until it's hunting season. Right. Yeah. So we have some things to think about. We might head out. Like we probably do one more week here is kind of our idea. We got to get back for rut for whitetail because I mean Ohio is one of the best hunting states in the country. So we have an opportunity to do some hunting and some properties there in Ohio, and we want to try to get it done there. Get a good whitetail this year for both of us. Hopefully we both get some put on the wall there. Yeah. And yeah, our time at least out here is dwindling down until
close. We still have plenty of time. I think we still have at least to the end of October before I think we're really thinking about hitting the road hard back to Ohio.
Yep.
I don't know what is today, 19th. So we still got a week and a half.
I just don't want anything to basically come in the way of that deer hunt, the 10th. That's like getting back. I want to be able to get back and be able to, because like we're gonna be on the go again come wintertime, January, February, pretty much depending on when your shit's ready for the most part.
I got some work to do still on my van, and that'll take the priority. But it's going to be cold, man. I hate working in the cold.
Yeah.
I'm just going to buy a Honda. I'm going to be the Civic boys.
Yeah, we could both have our Civics. You would buy 2006?
Nah. 2007.
But all right, well, let's just wrap this up here. What?
Yeah.
You got something else?
Well, I think we might have. I'm trying to convince Drake to do the high point in Idaho.
I was looking at it last night.
8 miles.
I was looking at it last night.
It's just It's an 8-mile toughie, and I think that'd be good for the mental, baby.
I don't think my leg is good for it. Genuinely.
This is his excuse with everything.
No, and they won't be the excuse anymore. I'm going back home and I'm going to get it looked at.
That's what he's saying.
That was one of the reviews I've had.
Tell
one of
'em-
the revelations I've had.
Well, if anyone's listening to it at this point, send a comment to our Instagram. Whether you want us to do the Idaho State High Point.
Instagram. How about you make the comment on our YouTube video? If we should do the state high point, and it's got to be done with the first 5 days. Like if we get over 10, we'll do it.
10 comments
of saying yes.
Yeah, comment on our YouTube video. Say Bora Peak, BORAH Peak.
Okay.
If we get 10 of those, and they're not my 10 bots, we'll do Bora Peak for you guys. High Point 12 something. That'd be the highest we've gone together. I think that might be the highest I've ever gone. 12, almost 13.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some research on it too. So stay tuned. But Joe might be doing Bora Peak if it gets 10. We'll see though.
Nah, we'd have to separate. There ain't no way you're going. He'd cry about the drive. He'd be like, dude, the drive's fucking straight up.
Yeah.
We'd have to go fucking 7,000-8,000 feet on the drive.
Yeah, likelihood of that happening is low. But he can still keep trying to convince me.
It's maybe time for Drake to set up his own Starlink.
It might be. And I'm okay with that. But until next time, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. If you guys want action daily, I would follow our Instagram. We try to have stories and posts and things like that more often on there. Haven't done a lot of real stuff because that shit kind of sucks to do. But this will be our main form of content that you guys are probably going to get. We're working some clips and stuff like we said earlier.
He just found the pain cave. If anyone's ever been in the pain cave, you know where Drake was at. It just hurts. It's hard to see. It's black. It's dark.
Yeah, there's nothing to grab onto.
It's a scary place.
But you have anything else for us here?
I'm good, man.
You're good.
Good
Well,
stuff.
Yep. Thanks guys for watching here. We're going to drink some more and enjoy ourselves. So until next time, take care. Peace.